The gentleman from Arlington, Mr. Lopez.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I rise for a personal privilege.
Gentleman has the floor.
Thank you. At 10 a.m. on the morning of April 16, 2007, I was in a cabinet meeting on the third floor of the Patrick Henry building. And we had just begun when an aide burst in and gave a note to Secretary of Public Safety Marshall. He jumped up and left the room. A couple minutes later, the same aide came back and gave a note to the Chief of Staff. He jumped up and left the room. A few minutes later, the Chief of Staff came back and said that at least 20 people had been killed at Virginia Tech that morning. As that tragic day wore on, we'd learned that 32 people were killed and 17 wounded in the worst campus shooting in U.S. history. That horrible day prompted this General Assembly to act swiftly to close the loopholes that had previously allowed a mentally unsound individual to purchase handguns without detection by the National Instant Criminal Background Check System. 25 shootings have occurred since 2006. And just over the past 14 months, our nation has witnessed 4 tragic mass shootings that involved military-style weaponry. On January 8th, 2011 in Tucson, 6 were killed and 13 wounded with a regular handgun and 33-round ammunition magazine. On July 20th, 2012 in Aurora, Colorado, 12 were killed and 58 wounded with a Smith & Wesson M&P 15 assault rifle and 100-round ammunition magazines. On August 5, 2012 in Oak Creek, Wisconsin, 6 were killed and 4 wounded with a regular handgun and a 19-round ammunition magazine. And most recently, on December 14, 2012 in Newtown, Connecticut, 26 people were killed, 20 children, and 2 wounded with a Bushmaster AR-15 assault rifle, 2 handguns, and multiple 33-round magazines. But unlike the past, this General Assembly has not acted. Every single proposed bill has been defeated this year, and most didn't even leave subcommittee. Legislation was put forward to limit high-capacity ammunition magazines to 20 rounds. You know, since the 1930, the law prohibits me from having more than 3 shells in my shotgun when I'm duck hunting. So, what does that mean? Ducks have more protection than people. Let me repeat. Ducks, under the law, have more protection than people. You know, I've got no problem with hunting in Virginia. I come from a family of hunters, but you do not need a 100-round high-capacity ammo magazine to kill a deer. High-capacity mags have one purpose and one purpose only: to kill people. High-capacity ammo magazines are also responsible for a far too high percentage of law enforcement officers killed in the line of duty. A 2011 study analyzed data kept by the Virginia State Police and found a clear decline in the percentage of high-capacity ammo magazines used in crimes after the federal assault weapons ban was enacted in 1994. That percentage reached a low of just 10% in 2004 and then steadily climbed after Congress allowed the ban to expire. By 2010, the percentage was close to 22%. Legislation was also put forward to restrict military-style assault weapons and reinstate the 1-gun-a-month ban. Let's be clear, these weapons are not your grandfather's hunting rifle. The weapons used in these recent events were designed with military features to allow rapid spray firing for more efficient killing. The Bill of Rights does not give manufacturers the right to sell any type of gun to anyone at any time. For instance, the federal government banned machine guns in 1934, and America has not slipped into tyranny. There is no reason to think it would if we enacted, at the very least, a ban on assault rifles like we did in 1994. And yes, of course, the previous assault rifle ban was riddled with loopholes, and we will have to write a better one. And yes, of course, such measures would not instantly prevent the possibility of another mass shooting from occurring again, but they probably would, over time, make it less likely. You know, contrary to what others say, the Second Amendment is not a bar to curbs on guns. In 2008, the Supreme Court decision in the District of Columbia versus Heller, it was explicitly ruled that the right conferred by the Second Amendment is not unlimited. It's not a right to keep and carry any weapon whatsoever in any manner whatsoever and for whatever purpose. Among other things, Justice Scalia, writing for the court in a 5-4 decision, recognized that the Second Amendment would not preclude banning dangerous and unusual weapons, such as an M16, which is really just an AR-15 semi-automatic weapon. Legislation was put forward to require criminal background checks on gun sales, including private sales. The Brady Law only requires prospective purchasers to pass a background check if they are purchasing the firearm from a licensed firearm dealer. But 40% of firearm sales are from folks who are not licensed dealers. Nearly 80% of those who had used a gun in a crime got it from a non-dealer. Our current gun policy is like an airline security system that offers passengers a choice between submitting to the screening system or sidestepping it and boarding with whatever you'd like to carry on the plane. These measures all have broad public support. A CNN poll conducted in December 2012 found that 62% of the public supports a ban on these unnecessary high-capacity ammunition magazines. A Quinnipiac poll of Virginia voters on January 10th found that 60% agree with limiting gun purchases to 1 per month. 58 say ban assault rifles, and here's a whopper. 92% support universal background checks. A May 2012 poll by Republican pollster Frank Luntz did a poll of NRA members. 3 out of 4 believed that background checks should be completed before every gun purchase. A Field and Stream poll revealed that 67% of its readers did not consider assault weapons to be legitimate sporting guns, no matter how sporterized they were. Former president of the NRA, Charlton Heston, famously called the Second Amendment America's first freedom. That is, everything else flows from it. I don't want to quibble, but really? The First Amendment protects Americans' rights to worship as they please, read what they please, say what they please, associate with whom they please, and write what they please, and complain to their government. The Second Amendment protects their rights to own guns. It's an important right, but America is, at its root, about freedom of mind, spirit, thought, and market. It is not fundamentally about gun ownership. Charlton Heston also said that the Second Amendment was intended to protect the right of Americans to rise up against a tyrannical government. That gets repeated a lot. But the Constitution in Article 1 allowed armed citizens and militias to suppress insurrections, not cause them. Our system provides peaceful means for citizens to air grievances and change policy, from the ballot box to the jury box to the right for people to peaceably assemble. If violence against an oppressive government were somehow countenanced in the Second Amendment, then Timothy McVeigh and Lee Harvey Oswald would have been vindicated for their heinous actions. You know, by the standards of some folks today, even Ronald Reagan was a traitor to the Second Amendment. Reagan supported common sense gun restrictions. As governor, he pushed the first modern gun regulations. As president, he banned ownership of fully automatic rifles. He supported the assault weapons ban and stated, if the passage of the Brady Bill were to result in a reduction of gun violence by only 10 or 15%, and it could be a great deal more, it would be well worth it if it was the law of the land. Was Reagan a heretic or an unprincipled Constitution shedder? Of course not. Reagan appreciated that there was nothing incompatible between Second Amendment rights and appropriate safeguards. Reagan was a conservative leader who was willing to compromise and be pragmatic. Between 1999, folks, and 2007, there were nearly 32,000 gun deaths in Virginia. Virginia is just one of 10 states where there are more deadly shootings each year than there are deaths from car accidents. There have been over 1,000 gun-related deaths across the nation since Newtown. What has to happen before we act? Thank you, Mr. Speaker.